Well, yes, I do, because it does encompass the main issues in the book, but it's also a very complex book. So I would perhaps put the word desire first, because I think that's what sort of is at the root of the book. It's a kind of desire for discovery of other people, oneself, and also of the body being sort of rejuvenated in the context of this book. So ageism, it's a kind of catchword, if you like, which is not quite what I'm trying to talk about, but maybe more about invisibility, how people can be living in a city like London and become gradually invisible. The old white lady has been there for a very, very long time, because I was studying in London towards the end of the 1970s, and I used to live next door to a very old lady, and we would sort of travel by tube almost every day. So I used to ask her, you know, where she was going every day and coming back, and she was completely alone. Nobody ever came to see her. And one day I sort of asked her if she didn't feel lonely, and she said, you know, I think of the body as a transparent vase, and if you smile, it's as if the vase is filled up with light. And she says, every morning I try to fill myself with light. So I thought at that time that I would write something about her, but I didn't know how it would come about, and probably maybe 30 years later, I was sort of thinking again of that story set in London. So I wanted a collision, and the collision, the extreme collision for that old white lady would be a young black teenager who becomes a very, very important part of the story. It's a bit scary, I must say, especially as the time when I lived in London was so long ago that now you can see that the city has changed totally from the gloomy, dark city, very, I have to say, racist at that time in the 70s, early 80s. Things have changed, but at the same time they haven't. The racism is still there, but in a sort of more let's say, less openly recognizable way, perhaps. There's a dynamism, a beauty also to the city. I am scared because I think, you know, if somebody tries to look at all the places I'm talking about in the book and tries to go there and see whether it's the reality, and it's probably not, you know, I'm using very much my own imagination and intuition. But it's been the case with all my books, which are set in cities or in very strong, powerful places like New Delhi or Port Louis in Mauritius, that they become such an important part of the story that they become like a character itself. And so, in a way, it's a fiction. The city also is a fiction. So, if anybody tells me you can't run from King's Cross to Portobello Road, I would say, well, probably not, but it doesn't matter in the story. You know?